Hey y'all, it's good to be with you guys again. It's been, I would say several months since I posted my last video, um, and that was brought about by getting adjusted to my life here in Houston, Texas. I moved here in the beginning of September, so I'm going into my fourth month, I think. Yeah. Um, uh, but during the course of my time here, I have been involved in a number of occupations. I started out as a loop tech for Take Five, um, and I left that job for reasons I'll explain later. But right now I'm currently doing rideshare. I'm driving for Lyft, and I'm also involved in hospitality. Um, just to clear things up, one of the reason one of the things that brought me out here was, to try my hand in many different things as possible so that I could have a better context as to what I'm capable of and what I could contribute to the greater society so that I could reap the rewards of that, both mentally, financially. So, as it started with Take Five, I mean, as a corporation, it is my opinion that it is very, very poorly ran. Um, I was being worked like a dog there. And although I did acquire the knowledge of light car maintenance, such as, changing oil, cabin filters, air filters, and just getting more familiar with the layout of the engine, um, it had not met my expectations as a launching pad towards fixing cars, which I thought was a cool thing to do. Um, and to those who might bring up technical school and stuff like that, I don't feel, I don't, I don't believe that I'm in the position right now to be taking um, out loans because I already have a pretty sizable loan with this card that I financed. It's a 2012 Toyota Camry. Very reliable, very good fuel economy. As much as I hate getting into debt, it's one of the more favorable decisions I've made. Um, but yeah, to reel it back a little bit, the way me being 29 going on 30, the relationship I have to work in itself has changed considerably because you know, being a patron of the internet and being able to assimilate the accounts and experiences of people that have been involved in many different fields has allowed me to kind of weigh the pros and cons in regards to what I want to get involved with. Being that as it may, it's reasonable to accept the the concept of being pros and cons to any sort of decision you make in life, and so long as the person is mindful of that, acquiring the responsibility to pursue with the more arduous and the more undesirable aspects of that occupation. And one thing I like about the way I'm approaching my work now is that I'm not going to the same place and doing the same thing every day. I'm making reasonable money compared to what I did. How, on average, between my two jobs, I'm making about $20 an hour. Whereas when I was a front end supervisor at a bike shop in Maryland, I was making about $22 an hour. Now, that being said, with this vehicle and making sure I keep up with the insurance payments and the financing payments, that sort of sucks out a lot of that additional benefit with being in a lower cost of living area, such as Houston, Texas. But being that I was working hard as a mechanic and doing my best to acquire a more comprehensive understanding of the skills that I was involved with. I'm not opposed to working hard. Um, but the thing is that there, with a lot of these with a lot of these corporations, and with a lot of the risk associated with you know uh, acquiring capital somewhere to start a business, and then really just getting involved with people whose nature I'm not in favor of, it gets very trying to fully incorporate these risks and sunken cost fallacies into your working memory so that you can make a just and sensible decision as to what you would be involved with over the peak earning years of your life. Um, and yeah, it's just, in order to really feel connected with your work, you have to, in my limited understanding, there has to be a close group of people in which you can directly associate the fruits of your labor with. Because if you're working for people who has a limited grasp of yourself as a person and how hard you work, it's difficult to incentivize putting that much effort into that work. Um, my position, coming from how committed I was as a bicycle mechanic, was in regards to just helping people get healthy and stay healthy, because it's not like we can't use more healthy people on the planet, right? But then, you know, once once your time in that environment is said and done, and it's time to go home, and you're subjecting yourself to that hour-long commute, it's like I can't help but wonder to myself how much it was worth it. And this this isn't counting the money, because of course the money can only take me so far in feeling actualized and satisfied with the effort I've put in during the course of that day. Um, and I don't know how that I don't know what sort of picture that sets in regards to how resilient I am emotionally to these sort of arduous circumstances, with being out there in the world day after day, and expecting to perform to a certain capacity. But um, I understand that it's something I have to do. Um, but then it just comes to how much how many how much of these sensibly acquired amenities and privileges are worth it. Would I be willing to live with less if that means that I wouldn't have to subject myself to as much of these exhausting variables that just involve operating in a metropolitan area with millions of people who don't really know who I am, what I am like as a person. I'm not, I am trying to figure that out as of lately, because the older I get, the more precious my time is. So I have, you know, going into the big 3-0, I have to assess what my goals are, the long term, the midterm, and the short term, as far as how they align with my values and my principles, as far as how I am to live my life. I want to just check the time because I'm going to be seeing Avatar pretty soon. Okay, I got about 15 minutes left. Um, the other subject matter that I'd like to delve into is um, sort of this concept I've been formulating in my mind since I started driving a lot. And then I have more time for myself to just think things over. And that comes to the fallacy as far as the nature of the technology that we've brought forth in society in this modern era. And when I say modern era, I'm pretty much referring to um, when the internet became more prevalent. So, and this concept relates to other concepts such as the worker integrity sort of thing that I brought up previously, and the notion of disappointment. Um, and it all starts with how we expect things to work out ideally. An example of this are electric vehicles, 5G, universal basic income, perhaps even the internet itself, because it's with that all those other technologies were able to be brought to the forefront. We conceive of these technologies in the hopes that we improve the quality of people's lives, but while it does provide that, it also presents situations that were unforeseen during the conception of these technologies. Now, as far as 5G goes, I can't really get into that because although I do understand that it involves millimeter wavelength technology, I don't have a definitive understanding as how that affects biological organisms. It seems that the the further we've come to the present day, the more apparent it seems that these technologies are not fabricated with the best understanding as to how it affects the human psyche, our expectations, how it influences the socio-economic order, which brings stability to society. And that to me brings about the notion that we are becoming less careless, and um, it also reveals the notion that we are becoming more careless with how people who are in the fields that bring about these technologies are. An example of this is the Lyft app for the drivers. Um, when the route is illustrated on the screen, it is poorly scaled. So there are times where I miss my right turn, or speaking of 5G, the connection, the consistency of the connection to any given network is um, so inconsistent that there may be longer periods throughout a given day where I decide to work where the app isn't working properly, and in turn I make less money, or in turn I just have a harder time with executing the delivery of my passenger. I could go into further detail. Um, I'm gonna give it some more thought while I'm watching Avatar, and perhaps there'll be a part two. But if there's anything any of you guys wish to add, please put it in the comment section. I'll be elated to read it. Until next time, goodbye.